Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, March 23rd, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-gen. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea is going to start administering the vaccine developed by AstraZeneca to people 65 and older in the coming hour. President Moon Jae-in, who is at the age bracket, also received his vaccine shot this morning. The head of the WHO highlighted the problem of gaps in vaccine distribution, claiming 3/4 of all vaccines have been distributed to just 10 rich countries. And North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Chinese President Xi Jinping have pledged to further strengthen bilateral ties in their latest exchange of verbal messages. Our top story this morning, South Korea reported 351 new coronavirus cases on Tuesday, inching slightly down compared to the previous days. Now, also today, the nation is set to ramp up COVID-19 inoculations by vaccinating those aged 65 and older. Now, to find out more, one of our reporters is at the Care Hospital, where inoculations are due to start soon. Now, tell me how things are looking over there, Yun-sing. Have inoculations started yet?
No, not yet, Mo-gen. I'm at a care hospital in Gyeonggi-do province, and as you can see behind me, the waiting room is still empty. Inoculations are about to start in an hour and a half, and a fresh batch of vaccines are coming in this afternoon. This hospital holds more than 400 patients who are deemed eligible for this round of vaccines. Almost 30% have agreed to get the jab, and their inoculations will be carried out all throughout this week. Next week, the nation will move on to inoculate those in nursing homes. A total of 377,000 people are eligible for this round of vaccinations.
Right, Yun-sing. I also wanted to know if at the hospital, is there any kind of unrest due to the concerns over vaccine safety?
Well, as you know, confidence in the AstraZeneca jab has taken quite a heavy dive after several reports of blood clots in Europe. But just yesterday, Korea's expert committee on vaccinations reported that they had found no causal link to these extremely rare blood clot cases and the vaccinations itself. A U.S. study also proved the vaccine's 79% efficacy rate, while debunking the theory that the vaccines increase the risk of blood clots. These findings could have not been more timely, but it's difficult to say as of yet whether they have had a tremendous impact on easing people's minds. In this care hospital, less than 30% of the eligible patients have agreed to get vaccinated, which is quite a notable dip from the percentage shown last February, when almost 60% of the patients signed up for the inoculations. Nationwide, 77% of eligible people have agreed to get the jab, while in February it was 94%. That's all I have for now, but I'll be back for an update once the inoculations start. Back to you, Mo-gen.
Thank you for that, Yun-sing. Do keep us updated. Now, President Moon Jae-in and First Lady Kim Jong-suk also got their first vaccine doses today ahead of a trip to the UK in June to attend the G7 summit. Now, for more, our senior Blue House correspondent Kim Min-ji is on the line for us. Min-ji, I understand the first couple have been inoculated at a local health center.
That's right, Mo-gen. President Moon and the First Lady got their first vaccine doses just about an hour ago at a local health center in central Seoul. They got the vaccine made by AstraZeneca on the first day that those vaccines are being administered to over 65s. President Moon is 68 and the First Lady is 66. The first couple filled out a questionnaire in advance and received a preliminary checkup on their health to make sure they were fit for the vaccine. Their vaccination comes in accordance with the KDCA manual for essential foreign travel. Moon has been invited to attend the in-person G7 meeting in the UK in June. They have the jab now, as the AstraZeneca vaccine requires 2 doses within a time frame of 8 to 12 weeks, and it takes a few more weeks after that to fully build immunity. The first couple's inoculation is also aimed at easing concerns over the safety and efficacy of the AstraZeneca vaccine. Now, 9 Blue House officials who will accompany the president also got their first shots today. Those include the National Security Advisor and the Chief of the Presidential Security Service. The top office is expected to inform reporters on the health conditions of the first couple later in the day. Back to you, Mo-gen.
Thank you for that, Min-ji. Now, the head of the WHO says the gap between vaccines distributed in rich countries and those given through the COVAX program is shocking. He said 3/4 of all vaccines have been distributed to just 10 countries. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
Speaking at a webinar on COVID-19 in Geneva on Monday, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the gap between vaccines being distributed in wealthy countries and those given through the COVAX program is surging, and the situation is becoming more grotesque each passing day.
In January, I said that the world was on the brink of a catastrophic moral failure unless urgent steps were taken to ensure equitable distribution of vaccines. We have the means to avert this failure, but it's shocking how little has been done to avert it. The gap between the number of vaccines administered in rich countries and the number of vaccines administered through COVAX is growing every single day and becoming more grotesque every day.
He added that while some countries are racing to vaccinate their entire populations, other countries have nothing. Tedros said last Friday that more than 411 million vaccine doses had been distributed globally, but 76% of those are in just 10 countries. However, the WHO chief noted that some countries, such as South Korea, have set a great example. He said that despite being a high-income country that could easily afford to purchase vaccines through bilateral deals, South Korea has waited its turn for vaccines through COVAX. In Europe, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson reportedly spoke on Sunday with German Chancellor Angela Merkel and French President Emmanuel Macron in a bid to end the standoff within the EU over vaccine supplies. While Downing Street refused to confirm the calls, the reported talks came as Brussels is threatening to impose an export ban on vaccines produced in the EU, where vaccination rates are lagging far behind the UK. EU leaders are set to discuss a possible export ban at a summit on Thursday. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
With China's rivalry with the U.S. deepening and North Korea's relations with Washington becoming increasingly strained, the leaders of North Korea and China have exchanged verbal messages confirming their will to strengthen bilateral ties. Our Kim Bo-kyung has the details.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Chinese President Xi Jinping have vowed to further develop their bilateral ties. On Tuesday, the North state-run Korean Central News Agency reported in detail on the exchange of verbal messages between Kim and Xi. It said Kim relayed the message in order to notify China of the developments stemming from the 8th Congress of the Workers' Party of Korea at a time that requires both sides to intensify their strategic communication. He highlighted the policies taken to boost the regime's defense capabilities, inter-Korean relations, and North Korea-U.S. relations. Kim added North Korea and China should shore up their unity and cooperation to deal with all-round challenges and interruptive moves made by what he called hostile forces. The North Korean leader also mentioned how happy he is to see China making noticeable accomplishments to establish a fundamentally rich society, while steadily protecting socialism despite criticism and pressure from what he described as enemy forces. Watchers say this shows Kim supports China at a time when Beijing is coming under intense pressure from the West due to issues like Hong Kong and its treatment of Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang province. Adding to that, Kim expressed his belief that ties between Beijing and Pyongyang will further develop as required by the times, conforming to their core and shared interests. According to China's state-run Xinhua news agency, President Xi responded by saying China will uphold a political settlement of the Korean Peninsula issue, noting that Beijing wants to see the solid development of relations with the North. The messages were exchanged during a meeting in Beijing between a senior Chinese diplomat and North Korea's new ambassador to China. A lot of attention is on the messages as both Pyongyang and Beijing's relations with Washington have become increasingly strained in recent years. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
A Chinese company based in Singapore reportedly delivered oil to North Korea under the cloak of secrecy last year in a serious breach of UN sanctions. The New York Times reported Monday that it tracked Diamond 8, a ship that was supplied with oil by another tanker in waters near Taiwan, which weeks later docked in Nampo, the North's main port. It went on to say that Diamond 8 was flagged by the UN for at least 3 illicit oil deliveries to the North between 2019 and 2020, adding it uncovered its 4th delivery in May last year. The European Union has unveiled fresh sanctions against Chinese officials for systematic breaches of human rights against Muslim minorities in Xinjiang province. These are the first sanctions to be imposed on Beijing by the EU in over 30 years. Our Kim Hyo-sun reports.
In a coordinated move with major Western powers, the EU has announced sanctions against China for its, quote, serious human rights abuses against Uyghur Muslims. The measures involve the freezing of assets of 4 Chinese officials, which includes a security director, as well as a ban on them traveling within the EU. The announcement was immediately denounced by Beijing's foreign ministry, saying the sanctions are based on lies and disinformation and impose its own retaliatory measures. Nonetheless, the EU insisted its stance will remain the same.
We were made aware during the meeting that China has retaliated to those sanctions, and rather than change its policies and address our legitimate concerns, China has again turned a blind eye, and these measures are regrettable and unacceptable. There will be no change in the European Union determination to defend human rights and to respond to serious violations and abuses, as I said, irrespective of where they are committed.
These are the first sanctions in more than 3 decades to be put in place on Beijing by the EU, as it has sought to avoid confrontation with China. Separately, the 27-member bloc also rolled out sanctions over alleged human rights repression in other parts of the world, including North Korea, Libya, Russia, and Myanmar. The US and its allies, the UK and Canada, also imposed sanctions on the same officials amid mounting evidence of serious breaches of human rights by Beijing.
And we took action, as you noted, in unity with the United Kingdom, Canada, and the European Union, who also acted against human rights abusers in connection with these atrocities. This demonstrates our ongoing commitment to work multilaterally to advance respect for human rights, and we continue to have grave concerns about China's crimes against humanity and genocide on Uyghurs in Xinjiang.
The White House also said the issue was raised during last week's high-level talks in Alaska. It added the issue was also raised by President Biden during his phone conversation with Chinese President Xi Jinping a few weeks ago. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
Now, in the race to become the next mayor of Seoul, the main opposition People Power Party candidate Se-hoon has been selected as the unified candidate of the opposition bloc for the upcoming by-election. The candidacy was decided on Tuesday after the former Seoul mayor defeated his rival An Cheol-soo of the minor opposition People's Party in a public opinion survey. The survey was conducted on 32,000 mobile users, asking about the candidate's suitability for the mayoral seat and competitiveness against the ruling Democratic Party's candidate. The two sides agreed to merge their campaigns to increase the opposition bloc's chances of victory against the ruling party. Now, with the results, the April 7th Seoul mayoral by-election will see a two-way race between Se-hoon and the DP's Park Young-san. South Korea's business confidence edged up again in February, marking the 9th straight monthly increase. According to OECD data on Tuesday, South Korea's business confidence index stood at 99.5, up 0.3 points from the previous month. The index had been in steady decline during the first half of 2020 amid the outbreak of COVID-19, but the figure rebounded in June and has been rising since. A reading below 100 indicates pessimism towards future business performance, yet the recent uptrend suggests that the economy will gradually improve.
Good morning. We'll notice wide gaps in the readings today as the spring cold eases by the afternoon. Top readings will be hovering in the mid to upper teens across much of the country. In fact, Daegu will notice wide gaps of over 15 degrees Celsius today. And Gyeongju will get up to 20 degrees. Busan, Jeju topping out at 17 degrees. Then sunny skies will be featured nationwide for most of the day. But along with the warmer air, yellow and toxic dust will blow in, boosting dust levels in western parts of the country in the morning. But by the afternoon, air quality will get much better. It's going to get warmer than average this week. The nationwide rain is in the forecast for this weekend. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that will do it for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.